This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about children's bedroom furniture in Las Vegas hotels, high-end refrigerators in the 80s, and how you'll never say Vegas the same way ever again. All that and more as we watch Season 2, Episode 6 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Sophia Javed. I am one of your hosts for this podcast, and joining me is my co-host and brother. What's up, Imran?
What's up, sis? I'm good. I'm trying to feel lucky. I don't always have the best of luck, but I feel luck may be a lady tonight. Boo.
It may be. Let's see how your luck is during today's episode. Today we are talking about Perfect Strangers Season 2, Episode 6, called Babes in Babylon.
That's right. Shake those dice. The TV Guide description for this week's show, Sophia says, the guys win a trip to Las Vegas, but Larry's afraid Balky will fall victim to the family disease, compulsive gambling.
Oh, no.
Runs in the Appleton bloodline, huh? Compulsive gambling.
Exciting Vegas trip.
Of course, Perfect Strangers, starring everyone's favorite, Bronson Pinchot, Mark Lynn Baker. This episode airing October 29th, 1986.
Still in 1986.
Great year, 1986.
Act 1 opens in the apartment. Balky's on the couch watching TV. He's watching Gilligan's Island. We know this because he says, "Watch out, Gilligan. Skipper's got the frying pan." Then we hear the sound of a frying pan hitting something. And Balky goes, "Oh, Gilligan, you are one dumb cookie."
You know, Balky is smarter than Gilligan, that's for sure.
And for anyone who's listening who does not remember Gilligan's Island was a 1960s sitcom that followed the comic adventures of 7 castaways as they attempted to survive on an island on which they had been shipwrecked.
Yeah, you had Gilligan, the skipper, Ginger, Mary Ann, the Howells, and the professor. So it was a sitcom, it was a comedy. Most of the episodes revolved around the conflicts between these different characters from different classes and walks of life and their unsuccessful attempts to escape. And Gilligan was like the comic foil. So it was kind of like Lost, but goofy. It was like a sitcom version of Lost. Every week you would just watch how Gilligan would screw up their escape from the island. They could never get off that island. I remember I spent many hours in the summer watching reruns.
Yes, we watched a lot of Gilligan's Island. We were not alive in the 60s. We watched it in reruns.
It was like that and Adam West Batman, always back to back. I don't know where you can even...
Brady Bunch.
Yes, the Brady Bunch, the 70s.
I Dream of Jeannie. Yes. We watched a lot of old sitcoms.
Those were great.
They were amazing. The Honeymooners.
Honeymooners was a different show.
I Love Lucy. Hey, we're doing a podcast.
So, listen, very quickly, Larry enters the apartment very excited. He has a letter in his hand from the Shop and Spend grocery store that says Balky and Larry are the winners of a new state-of-the-art double-door refrigerator. That sounds wonderful.
Woo-hoo. And Larry is so excited about this. He's come home like in this great thrilled excitement. And like, why is this what 24-year-olds were excited about in 1986? A new refrigerator? Maybe. I don't know.
Listen, when you have cases of Maalox that need to be at the perfect temperature, you're going to need the state-of-the-art.
You need a double-door refrigerator to store all your Maalox. Balky has the letter and he keeps reading and he goes, okay, we want a refrigerator or a free trip for 2 to exciting Las Vegas. and Balky, now it's Balky who's super excited about Vegas, and he gets up, he says, now we are so happy, we do the dance of joy. And they're both excited, but about different things, so they do the dance of joy.
Now we are so happy, we do the dance of joy. Die, 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 die. Hey, 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 hey.
course, as you know, the dance ends with Larry jumping into the arms of Balky and them just looking into each other's brown eyes. And Balky goes, "I've always dreamed of going to Vegas." To which Larry replies, "Well, dream on, because we're taking the refrigerator." And then Balky drops Larry.
Yeah. So Larry, we find out, believes that Vegas is he has very strong opinions about Vegas. He believes that Vegas is a moral wasteland that goes against everything he's ever believed in, even though he's never been there.
Yes, judgmental much, Larry Appleton.
And Balky calls him out on that, and he said, "But I saw Ocean's 11. All Vegas is gambling, flashing lights, big-name entertainers, and showgirls in skimpy costumes." And Balky goes, "You're right. Let's pack." Then Balky tries to do the dance of joy again, but he's dancing alone. Larry's not participating.
Balky's trying to move him to dance, move his arms up and down.
But let's pause here for a second, because this reference to Ocean's 11 caught my eyes and ears.
Did you know what that was when you first heard this?
Well, of course, everyone knows it now, right. But I imagined the Ocean's 11 we know now did not exist in 1986. So Larry is referring to the original Ocean's 11, which was a 1960 American heist film starring 5 of the Rat Pack, which was Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop.
Yeah.
And it was about a series of Las Vegas casino robberies, and that was the film that was the primary inspiration for the Ocean's film series in the early 2000s.
That one you had Clooney and Brad Pitt and what's her name? Julia Roberts, and great movies, great heist movies too, the Ocean's franchise.
So I just thought it was interesting because I don't know, I wouldn't have known that reference as a child in 1986, of course.
But Larry is not dancing the dance of joy again because he wants the world's greatest refrigerator. He says it even talks to you. It tells you when you leave the door open. It tells you when you're low on eggs. When you eat too much, it talks down to you. Wow. That
sounds like the smart fridges of today. Did they have stuff like this in 1986?
You know what? They may have predicted the coming of the smart appliance age.
Maybe the joke writers went so far it became true.
That didn't start until 10 years later, earliest. It was like the late 90s, early 2000s, you had internet fridges. But that's exactly what they do. They're joking about it, and science fiction has come true.
But Balky keeps repeating the refrain of this show that has become a favorite among Perfect Strangers fans. He keeps repeating, "I want to go to Vegas. I want to go to Vegas." So then we learn that going to Vegas is one of Balky's great American dreams.
Of course
it's like this great place he's dreamed of. And he's kind of just disappointed that Larry would prefer to have the refrigerator.
Then we get a great physical comedy bit as we learn Balky's version of Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo.
It's a Meeposian decision-making game that he says this is what parents on Meepos use to choose a bride for their son. And so do we want to play the clip first before we describe it?
Here's them trying to decide.
I know a way to decide. Put your hands out like this. In Meepos, this is how the parents choose a bride for their son. Di bodega, bodega snack. Bodega hot.
That's so funny. Yeah, now describe that.
Okay, so I'm going to try to describe this. Balky goes, "Put your hands like this," which means they're facing each other. They're standing up, and they both have their hands in front of them in fists. And then Balky starts bopping on Larry's fists in different configurations as he goes, dim bodega, da bodega, smack. And at smack, he slaps Larry's face on both sides with both hands. And then he goes for the second round, bo bodega, dim bodega, bim bodega, hack. But this time, Larry puts up his hands to block both of the slaps.
Very Three Stooges. That's a straight up Three Stooges move to block the eye poke.
Then there's a quick beat in which Larry puts down his guard and Balky slaps him anyway real quick. And then Larry grabs him by the chest of the shirt, pulls him close in that classic move between them. And Larry gets up right in his face. He says, "That's a ridiculous way to decide anything." And Balky says, "That's what the groom usually says."
And then Larry is going to give you how we do things in America, which he does often, and it's hilarious. Yes. And he says, in America, we decide things by flipping a coin, which is really just as random and ridiculous ridiculous as what Balky was doing. So he pulls out a coin, he flips it, and he loses.
And Balky gets so excited and he yells out, Vegas!
Yes,
Here
Vegas
we come!
won. There he goes, I'll go, but I'm not going to have any fun.
And Balky says, well, of course not. I wouldn't expect you to.
He already knows.
So Balky has already learned, and he's telling us what is the basis, the thesis of this episode. But he's already learned that, like, okay, Larry's not going to have fun. Like, Larry's going to be stressed out.
Don't
Larry's
expect him to.
Upset.
It's too much pressure.
So the herein is the, like, premise of this show.
Vegas, and then we cut to nighttime scenes of Vegas, lit up marquees on the Vegas Strip, and we are introduced to this hotel room, a Vegas 80s hotel room.
Okay, I'm going to try to describe what the show imagined an 80s hotel room, or I don't know, maybe it was what Vegas hotel rooms looked like in the 80s.
It probably was.
Okay, so it's wallpapered in very busy pink floral patterns.
Is that what it was? I was like, are those ribbons? Are those flowers? I couldn't tell.
It's just very busy and flowery.
Yes.
On the bedding, there's this frilly flowered bedding. It's all very frilly and flowery. And then if you notice those bedside tables, those were the French Provincial style furniture that used to be sold at Sears in the 80s for children, for bedroom sets. And I had the whole bedrooms. Actually, that furniture is still in my childhood bedroom. Yes. Did you recognize that furniture?
I was like, oh my God, this set is dressed with Sophia's childhood furniture. What's going on?
The reason we had it is because I think Sears must have just had a huge sale on it. I looked it up one time in the 80s, and it was just very, very popular bedroom set. And it was this French Provincial style. We'll put a link in the show notes, maybe.
But
you can just look up French Provincial furniture, Sears.
It's absolutely your furniture.
You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm sure many of you of the same generation will be like, oh yeah, that was my bedroom
we
set
can't give that stuff away. But
no, it's so awful. I don't know why it was popular. I think it's ugly.
But it's your typical, this is a loud, typical, busy Vegas hotel room. And
no disrespect to the French provinces, but I think it's...
Listen, it was in style in its time, and now it's gone.
So I couldn't figure out if they were trying to convey that this hotel room was super fancy, or if they were trying to convey that this hotel room was meant to be super gaudy because it wasn't super fancy.
I think it's meant to be gaudy on purpose. I think this is where, this shop and spend sent into like a crappy Vegas hotel. Well, look, Balky is super impressed by everything. He gets to keep a free pen. There's free champagne. Larry says the champagne is because they want you to get drunk so you can gamble more. He tells Balky not to touch it. And Larry leaves his room to take a rest while Balky explores this huge hotel room.
It's huge. Balky climbs onto the bed, which is also quite large, and he says the whole village could sleep on this.
All his grandparents could sleep on there comfortably.
And then he looks up, and he discovers this box by the bed, which says Magic Fingers. It's a Magic Fingers machine. Imran, do you want to tell us about what a Magic Fingers machine is?
Well, they don't have these in like respectable hotels anymore, but this is a machine invented in the 50s. You put in a quarter, and basically the bed vibrates, and it's meant to be like a calming massage experience. Used to be popular in hotel rooms for decades, from like the 60s to the 80s. Then they were most commonly associated with seedy adult motels. Yes. It's just a vibrating bed.
Did you ever see one of these things? I think I'd seen one or two when we were kids someplace.
I feel like when we went on the road trips to Florida, we stayed in those little crappy motels. Like they had there was always a box on the corner. You can have it at home.
But it's been a long time for sure. They don't really exist anymore. So Balky puts in a quarter, and suddenly the bed starts vibrating. He's startled. He jumps off the bed. Then he slowly creeps back and takes a slow seat onto the bed. And then he starts to enjoy the vibration. He lies back and he goes, Vegas.
You know what? I like massage chairs and massage furniture. They get this Magic Fingers gets a bad rap now, but really it's soothing. It'll like untie the knots in your back. Let's bring this back.
So I know what I'm getting you for Christmas if I can find one.
While the Magic Fingers are pulsating Balky, he sees a flyer that Wayne Newton will be performing, and he gets very excited. He calls Larry over. Why is Balky excited? Because Wayne Newton is the biggest selling record artist on Meepos. Who would have thought? He goes, the man is a legend. We must go see him. And he starts singing, Dankeschön.
And snapping his fingers. Dankeschön. He sings in a perfect Wayne Newton voice, snapping his fingers. And Larry very simply says, okay, if it means that much to you, we'll try to get tickets. Balky gets very happy. He's like, thank you. And then he asks Larry, is there anything you want to do while we're in Vegas? And Larry has made a list of fun things to do in Vegas, which includes...
Fun to Larry.
Fun for Larry, which includes a real insight into what we think what Larry thinks is fun. So the list includes a bus tour to Hoover Dam.
Exciting.
A tour of the Liberace Museum.
That's weird, but okay.
And he even says we can shave 10 minutes off if we skip the shoes.
He says we can shave an hour off if we skip the shoe exhibit. That's a lot of shoes.
Hoover Dam, Liberace Museum, and then end the day with a nice desert walk.
Balky says you missed the most important thing, cousin, the casino.
The casino.
Larry says absolutely no casinos.
No, absolutely no casinos. And he says, Balky, why do you think I came along? And Balky says, to take all the fun out of the trip. Again, underscoring this premise that Larry is the buzzkill.
He's totally buzzkill.
And Larry explains that, no, he came along to protect Balky so that he doesn't end up like their Uncle Pete.
Uncle Pete?
Uncle Pete was a gambler, he says. He gambled away everything he owned, his car, his house. We never did find Aunt Susan.
That's a great line.
And Larry is afraid that bad gambling habits are in the family blood, and that's why they cannot go to the casino.
But Balky does his, of course, famous recurring crying, I want to go to the casino.
And Larry says, fine, maybe after the desert walk and before Wayne Newton, we can walk through the casino.
Oh, boy.
But no stopping.
Oh, boy, Balky says. And then I love this line. Balky goes, we should have taken the refrigerator.
And then Larry gets annoyed. He's like, well, it's a little late for that now.
That's so good. I love where he's like, oh, boy. Oh, boy. At the casino, cut to a casino, but they come running into like a bar area. And this may be, they have a few sets. Does this look like the dining room set?
I think it's the same room that they redone that they used for
gym, the restaurant,
the singles bar, the gym, and something else. But I think they had like the apartment set, the store set, and like this set.
This one's got a nice red palette color everywhere. Yeah, they've
done it up
shiny.
In like a red casino theme, casino bar theme. Red shiny floral walls, a few slot machines, waitresses in like showgirl type leotards. Balky and Larry run in from the other side panting. They've just run through the casino to get to the bar. Balky says, but I want to see the casino. And he starts going back into the casino, and Larry pulls him back by his suspenders. Very slapsticky.
That's cartoony. That's straight up cartoony.
Yeah, very cartoony. He tells Balky, you can see the casino just fine from here. And he says, look at them. You want to become one of those miserable souls out there? And then we hear a sound of like winning bells, alarm bells, and a bunch of people cheering. Yeah. And Balky says, yes. And Larry says, no, you don't. They're really crying on the inside. And then we hear more cheering. Balky goes, boy, they're hiding it well.
So then they both go to the bar. Larry tells Balky, sit down, order a drink. He's going to go get the Wayne Newton tickets. Balky wants to see the casino. Larry says, just sit there and stay. He goes, remember Uncle Pete? He's trying to keep Balky out of trouble. Larry leaves, and immediately a beautiful woman in a shiny red dress and red lipstick, this brunette, big 80s hair, sparkly necklace, earrings, the whole nine, shows up, sits down next to Balky. She looks at Balky and says in a sultry voice, hi there, want to have a good time? Balky goes, well, I've already been to the Liberace Museum.
And Wendy kind of like rolls her eyes. She's like, let's try this again. Hi, my name's Wendy. And Balky goes, hello, Wendy. Wendy. Are you a showgirl? And Wendy goes, I can do Hamlet in a rubber suit if the price is right.
And then Balky goes, I love the theater.
Innocent, sweet, innocent Balky is not picking up what she's putting down, and she gets annoyed, and she goes, look, do you want a party or what? And Balky says, I would love to go to a party. Can I bring Cousin Larry?
Just then Larry comes back with the Wayne Newton tickets, and he sees what's going on. He's like, Balky, what are you doing with this woman? And the minute he tells her, Wendy, this man has no money, she immediately turns around to the guy next to her and goes, "Hi, want a party?" And then they both walk out. Yeah. But that guy comes back later, so I think he didn't have any money either. I noticed him come back into the casino. I think he was poor also.
That was quick, or they did their business pretty quickly. Larry explains to Balky what that was about. And he says that let's just say that Wendy is in the world's oldest profession. And Balky goes, she's a sheep herder. And then Larry just goes, that's right. He doesn't have it in him to explain any further.
There's no point in wasting time. So they have some time before the show, and Balky says, "Cousin, I have a quarter. I want to hit the slots," he says. And Larry says, "Okay, look. This will be a good lesson for Balky. When he loses his money, we're going to go to the slot machine, and he'll realize that, gambling is horrible." Balky goes over there, puts in his quarter, pulls the handle, and boom, boom, boom.
Bells
3
ring,
in a row.
Coins fell out of the machine. And Balky exclaims, "I love Vegas!"
Of course, this has backfired on Larry right at the end of Act 1.
Act 2, Balky and Larry enter the actual casino, not the bar area.
Oh, they made it in.
Larry wants to leave as soon as he gets there. He says, "Now look, you've seen it. Now let's get out of here. This place is dangerous. If you stay here, you'll catch the fever." Balky doesn't understand. After all, he won a jackpot from the slots. He's like, "What are you talking about?" Larry says, "Balky, I forbid you to stay here." And Balky says, "Well, Papa, don't preach." So this is a very timely reference in this episode because Madonna's hit song, "Papa Don't Preach," came out in 1986.
Great song.
So it must have been earlier that year.
Balky has made up his mind. He's keeping the baby. Papa don't preach.
So Balky tells Larry he's a big boy now. He can look after himself. And Larry says, "That's just what Uncle Pete said before he gambled away his pacemaker."
Oh, no. Larry's really putting his foot down. He's like, "I forbid you."
Yeah.
He knows, but Balky may have to learn on his own. Balky is determined to do some gambling. Larry still wants to teach Balky a lesson by experiencing a loss, by losing. So they go to the roulette table. Balky's like, "What, this game?" And Larry goes, "This roulette, the odds are really against you here, Balky.
Why don't you try it?"
He encourages Balky to try it. Balky takes a stack of chips, and he starts doing his Mi Posian, Dim Bodega. And Larry's like, "Just put the chips down." And they put it on 32, the stack of chips. And now Larry goes, "Now watch your money disappear." The guy spins the roulette machine, and of course the ball lands on 32, blowing up his whole lesson right there.
So Larry is still determined. Larry is still of the mind that all of this is going to be terrible. He's like, "All right, Balky, you need to lose all your money quicker because it's almost time to see Wayne Newton." So he says, he grabs half of Balky's chips. He says, "I'm going to bet half. You bet the other half. That way, one bad spin and you'll be broke and miserable." Larry's like being a total Debbie Downer and doubting everything. So Larry puts his half of the chips on 36 and he wins again. And he's upset about it. Yes. He's like, "I can't get a break." But Balky lost his half of the bet. And Larry says, "Good. And how do you feel?" And Balky says, "Broke and miserable." And Larry says, "Believe me, you're a better person for it." So Larry is still of this mind that it's all going to end poorly and he needs to experience these losses sooner than later.
But he still has half of Balky's chips that he's just doubled up on. So he goes, "Let's try my birthday." And then he wins again. At this point, Balky wants to go to the show. It's almost time for Wayne Newton. And Larry won't leave now. He's like, "How can I leave now? I have all this money to lose from you." Larry gives Balky his ticket. He goes, "Look, I'll catch up. Go to Wayne Newton. Save me a seat. As soon as I lose your money, I will catch up," as he wins again. And now he's starting to get into it a little bit.
Right there, after that last win,
when did
you
it
see
switch?
The change on his face.
Yes.
And he's like, "I won." And now he's excited, okay? And he's getting the fever, which makes me think all his cautions before was maybe a bit of projecting. He's getting the fever. Balky looks at him. He's like, "Are you okay? Why don't you come with me now?" And he tries to leave. And Larry's like, No, I'll be fine. Save me a seat. Balky leaves, and Larry's fever starts to show. This is where we see it real clearly.
I think
Balky walks away, and Larry goes, "Okay, baby needs a new pair of shoes. Double down, boxcars, let it ride." And he wins again.
It begins. So then we cut to later that evening. It's still at the casino. Larry is still at the roulette table. His clothes are disheveled. He's pulled up his blazer. His collar is sticking out. His
sleeves are rolled up.
Yeah, his tie is all off.
Loosened.
And he is not winning anymore.
And he looks absolutely crazed.
He is frantic.
That Larry Appleton frantic look.
He's literally bug-eyed and sweating when Balky shows up in a really fancy, lovely Maposian vest.
Yes, it's a gold embroidered black vest with tassels over a white collared shirt. He's dressed up for a night out.
He brought his nice clothes to Vegas.
At a Wayne Newton concert. Yeah. But he runs over to Larry. He's very worried, and he says that he waited and waited for Larry, who never showed up for the Wayne Newton concert. Oh my God. Larry never showed up. Larry reluctantly tells Balky that he didn't show up because he sold his ticket.
There's the signs of a problem.
Larry loses again as they're having this conversation. So then he places bets on 6, 12, 22, and all the blacks, right? Balky says, "Why you sold your ticket?" And Larry says, "Because gambling takes money." Balky says, "You have plenty of money." And Larry says, "You can never have enough money."
No.
And Balky says, "Cousin, I'm confused. I thought you stayed here to lose my money to teach me a lesson." And Larry says, School's out.
And the ball lands on 7. Red. And Larry loses again. And Balky asks Larry, "Cousin, where you get all those chips from?" Larry goes, "Oh, I sold my plane ticket too." Oh boy, this is really now signs of an addiction. How is he going to get home? He says, "Don't worry, when I win enough, I can buy it back again." Balky goes, "I think you take after Uncle Pete's side of the family a little bit."
Okay, next we have another brilliant physical
so
comedy
Larry
bit.
has sold his plane tickets and
sold his plane tickets, sold his Wayne Newton ticket.
This escalated quickly.
Yes, it sure did. Physical comedy coming up. Larry goes to place another bet. He wants to put all his chips on 12. Balky bear hugs him, wraps his arms around Larry's arms to try to stop him. Larry then lifts his leg up onto the table to try to put the chips on the table with his foot. Balky lifts his leg up to try to block Larry's leg. And then Larry yells, "Oh, look, there's Wayne Newton."
What?
And Balky falls for it and goes, "Wayne!" and looks in the other direction, at which point Larry pushes all his chips onto 12. Balky gets pissed. He comes back. He's yelling, "You tricked Balky. You used Wayne's name in vain."
That's so great. Wayne's name in vain.
And he says, "I can't let you gamble away everything like your Uncle Pete." And Balky grabs the marble out of the roulette spinner. And suddenly a previously boisterous room goes silent.
It's like everything stops. The music, the conversation, everyone.
It's silent, and there are 2 bouncers on either side of Balky staring him down, 2 big guys. Larry's like, "Balky, you might want to give them their marble back." And he promises to Balky that he'll stop gambling. So Balky gives the dealer the marble back. And Larry says, "Don't you ever, ever do that again." A classic Larryism. Then Larry, so the noise starts up again. They unpause everything. Larry tells Balky he lied, and Balky says, "Well, I lied too." And he grabs Larry's chips from 12 and runs out of the casino. And just then, the dealer calls 12, and Larry would have won, and he's very pissed, and he runs off to catch Balky.
You know what?
Exit the casino.
Balky is very lucky they didn't bust his kneecaps and just toss him out of the casino. You cannot grab the marble during a roulette game. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think they would handle it that calmly in real life. But of course, no one's harming Balky. He's Balky. Act 3 opens in the hotel room. And now we're going to get a very intense moment of physical comedy as Larry opens the door completely crazed.
This is just great. This whole scene is just chef kiss, brilliant.
And he does, he gives us a movie reference. He goes, "Here's Larry." And his eyes are bugged out and he's sweating and he's gone. He has lost it. And then "Here's Larry," obviously a reference from a movie, Sophia. It is Larry's rendition of The Shining, the line from The Shining from 1980. where Jack Nicholson says, here's Johnny. And it's a perfect way to show us that Larry has gone crazy. That he's lost his marbles, because that's what Jack goes through in that movie. And then Jack is doing a reference to Ed McMahon in The Tonight Show going, here's Johnny.
So it's a third-hand reference.
It's a reference inception. It's 3 deep.
Larry creeps into the room and he is absolutely crazed. And he's like doing this weird creep walk and like looking around with buggy eyes.
He scared me.
And he's looking for Balky and he's like doing this like, I don't know, it's like a burglar creep walk. And he goes, I want my money. And he pulls open the closet doors and yells, but Balky's not in there. So he like spins around and he creep walks around the room and he goes, it's all right. Everything's all right. I forgive you. But his face all the while is crazed. And then he opens the bathroom door and he runs in yelling, And Balky's not in there either. And so we see Larry jump back out of the bathroom.
His hands are shaking too. And he's like looking around. He goes, I know you're here. And he starts sniffing the air. He's like, I can smell my chips, as he creeps across the room and he sees a pair of shoes under the curtains. And he leaps at the curtain, attacking it, like ripping it down like a maniac. Balky's not there either. Balky's right behind him, behind the other curtains. And somehow Larry sensed this, because then he turns around and looks at him.
The audience sees Balky peek out from the other curtain behind Larry.
But Larry like really totally sensed him and turned around and made eye contact. And at that point, they both jump and startle, and Larry starts chasing Balky around the room. It's hilarious.
And at one point, Balky jumps on the bed, then Larry jumps on the bed, and it starts vibrating, and they like enjoy it for a brief moment. And then they continue the chase with Larry yelling, give me my chips. And Larry finally catches Balky. He grabs him by the collar of his shirt, gets in his face in that classic position. And Balky goes, Cousin Larry. And Larry goes, there is no Cousin Larry. There's only Lucky Larry. And I'm going for the big jackpot. I'm going to blow this town wide open. Now give me my chips.
He is gone.
And Balky's like, you don't know what you're doing. Larry says, I know exactly what I'm doing. And Larry grabs his chips from Balky, and he's like breathing heavy, counting them. And then Balky grabs somehow a conveniently placed handheld mirror that was right next to him.
Of course.
Holds it right up to Larry's face. Larry looks in the mirror and he goes, Uncle Pete. Oh my God, what's happening?
Oh my God, this is so great. This transformation, it reminds me of, I don't know, have you seen the Lord of the Rings movies, Sophia?
Not really.
This is like Smeagol transforming to Gollum when he's protecting the ring, his precious. But he's like, my precious. He would. This is the same thing. He flipped to like an evil, obsessive character. It's so great.
Yeah, it's like, remember there was a previous reference in a previous
Dr.
episode
Jekyll,
to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Heckle.
What is this, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Heckle? So yeah, Larry just has realized what kind of gambling monster he's turned into.
He's turned into Uncle Pete.
Larry goes, what's happening? I love this line. Balky goes, well, I'm no expert, but I think you've gone off the deep end, cousin.
Larry has gone off the deep end. It's true. And Larry starts to realize a few things. He says, I don't know what's happening to me. I came along to protect you. Now look at me. I sold my Wayne Newton ticket. I sold my plane ticket. I sold the free champagne. He sold that bottle of champagne. And he says, I'm a compulsive gambler.
Balky, though, is very smart and sensitive and empathic. And he crouches down and he goes, no, you are not, cousin. You are just a regular person who got caught up in the excitement of Vegas.
And so Balky reassures Larry that he's not a compulsive gambler because he points out that he doesn't bet on sports or horse races when they're at home.
Yeah.
He doesn't even let Balky waste his money on lottery tickets. And Larry says, I don't want to see the inside of another casino for as long as I live. And then Balky gets a little annoyed and he goes, oh, you're doing it again. And then he goes off on this rant in Meposian. Let's hear that rant.
We get another Meposian rant. We had one last episode.
Because he's so frustrated that he has to just rant in Meposian.
This one is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Yoke, bigimogi, kosalari. Ina, ojo, tipo do casino, kosi bettina, que marca bigimona, mega post casino, ikika, la gulaki, baba.
Come again?
Which, of course, Larry says, come again.
My favorite part is that, yeah, Baba. He's pointing at the Baba. Like, you're getting reamed out with all those hard Ks.
Yes.
Papatotiki. Bobostiki.
And Larry says, come again. And that's when we hear the sentimental music. So, which means, of course, that it's lesson time. Balky says to Larry, your problem is you either go too far or you don't go at all. If you want to have fun, you've got to find somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, this rings true for Larry. As he looks over, he goes, I've always had trouble with the middle.
And then this is a really great line. Balky tells Larry he needs to practice having fun, and he offers to help him. And he says, this weekend we could have a little fun. Then next weekend we could have a little more fun. Then in a couple of years you could be a real party animal. Like me.
Balky's the party animal on Me Post. You know he is. Balky says he'll loan Larry the money for the plane ticket, and he knows Larry would do the same for him. And Larry asks can we still catch Wayne Newton's second show? Balky goes, now you're talking. Larry Appleton, you're going to be one fun guy. And they both start singing,
Dankeschön. And snapping.
Dankeschön.
And roll credits.
Yeah, dude, this is a fun, crazy episode. Great performance by Mark Lynn Baker.
Yes.
I can totally relate to this end part of Larry's habit of all or nothing and getting.
All or nothing.
It is very easy to get swept up in things, especially in a casino, and that's especially why I try to stay out of casinos. For exactly
have you been to a casino? Tell me about your gambling history.
I do have one quick casino story. I have not. I've never really spent time in a casino, but. In Indiana, a few years ago, they opened the Horseshoe Casino, which is a short drive from here, and I got free tickets because the Smashing Pumpkins were playing there. And this is at the time when Billy Corgan came back, and he's all old and had a gut and still bald, and he's playing with 20-year-olds. So it just looks weird. But he's doing all the great Smashing Pumpkin songs. So we go to the casino, and I think this is what happens because I have bad luck and I look like I'm a sucker if you see me, right? So I think when the casino people see someone new in, they follow you around because what happened was the first time I went in, we're like, all right, let's try this machine. I went to this machine, put in $10 and we won. The thing paid out. And I was like, okay, hold on. Somebody's watching and they're like, just pay this fool out because he's going to spend it all back here anyways. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up spending all that money, went right back. The house always wins. You can't beat the house when you go to casinos. I think it's a little bit
I'll tell you my story. I had never been gambling. I had walked through a casino once, but last year I went to a comedy festival in East St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
Illinois.
Yeah.
East St. Louis, Illinois. And the whole festival and where the comics were put up were in this casino. All the shows. And so we were in a casino for a week. And let me tell you something. When you're one of 4 women at a comedy festival with 100+ dudes, suddenly there are a lot of very friendly male comics who are offering to teach you how to gamble.
Oh, boy.
When you're like, oh, I've never gambled before. They're let's go. Let me show you. So I learned a few things. It was the same thing. I won some right at the beginning and then I just kept losing it. I did blackjack, I did roulette, and I did the slots, I think.
We played the slots, and I have been to, I'll tell you what else is fun, the horse track, Arlington racetrack out here. You kind of bet on the ponies, and that's a crazy way, but that's kind of fun. It's not casino gambling. Yeah.
But I did not feel this addictive urge, so maybe I'm safe.
Yeah, I think you'll be fine.
I just got bored. I was like, okay, I'm done.
I would bet everything. I would lose my clothes if I got sweat. I'd be just like Larry. I would get the bug. A couple other observations. The Dankeschön song always reminds me of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes.
The parade scene downtown.
What year was Ferris Bueller?
That was 1984, I want to say. Oh, no, it was 86. It was the summer that year. It came out June 11th, 1986.
It was a big year for Dankeschön and Wayne Newton. Big year.
1986 is a great year. A lot of great movies. This episode featured every running joke that's in the show is in this episode. Think about it. You got Balky watching TV and making some comment about what's happening.
You got Balky reading English aloud very slowly and
Larry
carefully.
getting impatient.
And Larry getgetting impatient. We have the dance of joy.
We had the dance of joy. We have Larry grabbing Balky by the shirt when he's angry.
We have this is the first time we hear about Wayne Newton being a big star on Meepos, but this will end up recurring as we move forward.
Yeah, Balky pouting until he gets what he wants. But I want to go to the casino.
We have Larry just like replying, yes, that's right, to something ridiculous Balky asked to avoid explaining further.
We got Larry going off the deep end and going crazy. Larry sniffing at the air, which he's done a couple of other times.
And we have an angry Meeposian rant from Balky.
Here's some more interesting facts. Here's like real nerdy Easter eggs.
Let us have it.
So they won the trip from the Shop and Spend grocery store, right? If you remember the episode, The Unnatural, the baseball episode, the Shop and Spend Spartans is the team they beat to win the championship 2 episodes ago.
Okay.
Right?
So there's some continuity.
Yeah.
There's some continuity. There isn't continuity with the girlfriends on the show yet.
Not yet, but the baseball team,
the
Shop and Spend grocery store.
Makes sense. Yeah.
If you notice in the new intro in the beginning of this season, there's that one clip where Larry's he's kind of leaning on one foot and he tosses his jacket on the hook and it misses and it falls. That was apparently a scene cut from this episode early on, probably when he enters. Balky saying Vegas. I will tell you one thing. I've been saying that for so long to where I forgot where
my whole life.
I forgot where it came from.
Vegas like that.
Vegas. Before Favreau and Vince Vaughn made Swingers in the 90s and made Vegas hip, it was Vegas. And the minute he said it, I was like, oh my God. I always say Vegas just instinctively. And I forgot where it came from. That just
goes to show you, like, this episode came out when I was 6 years old. And for my whole life, since 1986, have been saying Vegas like that.
Because of Balky, isn't that crazy?
Because of this show.
Isn't that crazy?
Vegas. I want to go to Vegas.
A lot of the shots of the casinos, of these motel casinos and hotels, some of them don't exist anymore. The Dunes is demolished, and the Frontier was demolished in 2007. So you're looking at some old signs of old Vegas history there. Did Balky bring Dimitri with him? Was he in the episode?
He did indeed. He did indeed.
You got to have Dimitri with you.
Dimitri was there in Vegas.
We mentioned Wayne Newton and how Meepos loves Wayne Newton. And Wayne Newton, this is not the only Vegas episode, right? There's going to be another Vegas episode?
Yes. But yes, they go to Vegas again in season 7. And in that episode, Wayne Newton is in the episode.
Here, I have a little SAT analogy for you. Let's see if you can answer this question. Wayne Newton is to Meepos as blank blank is to Germany.
Is it you too?
No, it's David Hasselhoff. Germany loves David Hasselhoff the way Meepos loves a random celebrity like Wayne Newton. U2 is huge, but the fact is like how this tiny country just loves this random dude.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. That's a good SAT question.
Here's something I found out that I thought was very interesting. Wendy, the girl playing Wendy, that's actress Donna Denton, right?
Okay.
So apparently this episode, this is before the internet, this episode caused a lot of water cooler talk with TV geeks at the time because there was a show going on at the time called Mike Hammer. The series was called Mike Hammer. And on that show was a character just known as The Face, a mysterious woman, a brunette. You would see her. He would see her. Mike Hammer would see her in the distance every so often in different episodes. But they never told you who she was, who played her. She was The Face. So when Donna Denton played this episode, sharp, eagle-eyed fans of Mike Hammer noticed. They're like, holy crap, that's The Face. And they were able to figure out that Donna Denton was The Face because of Perfect Strangers.
I don't understand. You could see her face on the show. Oh, there was no internet, so they couldn't look up.
They didn't know who played her or who or what or you know what.
Which is so strange to think about. Like I didn't even understand what you were trying to say there
because I
forgot what it was like to not have internet. I'm like, why? They could see her face. Why didn't they just know?
She's called The Face, but who's that? And they're like, oh my God, that's The Face. That's the girl. And then they did an episode about The Face. But I thought that's the stuff I would have been into if I was old enough back then. And then one more thing, the TV trope of gambling, of course. The gambling addict TV trope, very popular. My favorite example is this from The Simpsons, where, do you remember where Marge gets addicted to gambling?
Yes.
So here's a clip from the scene where Lisa is supposed to have a state costume. Like she's supposed to be Florida and Marge's supposed to help her. But instead, Homer has taped together like 2 pieces of mattress and just wrote Florida on her and taped an orange to her hand. And
hello, Florida.
I'm not a state.
Oh, he spells Florida wrong.
I'm a monster.
No, Lisa. The only monster here is the gambling monster that has enslaved your mother. I call him Gambler, and it's time to snatch your mother from his neon claws.
That's the best Gambler. I always go, I call him Gambler.
So Gambler is definitely
Gambler's
what got
thing.
to Larry in this
Gambler is
episode.
the thing, people. Gambler will
Gambler
get
got
you.
Larry Appleton as well. Okay, so let's do a quick review of our favorite Balky and Larry catchphrases and what we saw in this episode. Don't be ridiculous. I think only said once early on.
One time.
We have one
don't be
we have one very emphatic "You tricked Balky."
You tricked Balky.
And then we have the classic from Larry, "Don't you ever, ever do that again." Perfect Strangers Today is our segment on this podcast where we discuss if this story were to happen today, how would things be different?
One of my favorite lines in the beginning is when they're arguing and Balky's like, but cousin, you want this refrigerator? And he goes, it has a lettuce crisper.
So yeah, the refrigerator, we already talked about. What he described is a today version of a
You can
smart
have this
fridge.
Oh my God, you can tap on the screen and you can order
It can
milk
tell you
as
when you're
run
out of eggs.
have it delivered.
It talks to you. This is a smart fridge of today, but how did they know that then?
Did they ever think in the future we'd be watching TV on our fridges in the future? That's you can watch YouTube on your fridge. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can. But the main difference, PS today, casinos have kind of updated. They're still kind of tacky and loud and bright, but the machines are all high tech.
Yeah, you don't pull those slots down on the slots machines anymore.
There's that is very antique style of pulling. Not that we know, like we said, never been to a casino, but obviously you're pushing buttons. It's like it's video game screens. It's
and
touch
you don't
screens,
get that satisfaction of like coins spilling out. It just prints out a piece of paper with like your winnings or whatever.
Yes. That's how. Yes, when we won, I got a slip, and I was like, "Oh, I could just cash this in for." Then you go to the lady, and then she gives you more chips. But that is an antique. The thing he first used is like an antique slot machine, but it's an actual machine. So casinos will be a little bit different.
Are a little modernized. Yes,
they're still going to give you free booze to get you drunk. So and pump in oxygen to keep you high, and you don't know what time of the day it is when you're inside because there's no windows.
Oh yeah, that's true. And they're like open all night and all this.
That's all I had. Did you have any other observations for PS today?
We talked about before that the Magic Fingers machine doesn't exist anymore. I'm not sure what the today equivalent of that would be. That's in every hotel room.
And Wayne Newton is still performing in Vegas, I believe. I don't know. It's possible.
My goodness. Have you ever been to Vegas?
I have not. My wife has for conferences. I'll tell you who has. On my other podcast, Jock and Nerd podcast, Anthony the Jock. He's a jock, right? He used to go, before COVID, he was going there like twice a year for like bachelor parties and like pool parties. So
wait, those are real things, not just entertainment cliches?
No. We would live vicariously. Me and Rug Boy live vicariously through Anthony's stories at pool parties in Vegas.
Actually did bachelor parties in Vegas. I thought it was just a thing.
And he doesn't really
TV
gamble,
shows.
but he just they do it. So I want to check it out. It's one of those places you gotta go.
I've never been either. Maybe someday we'll go.
We have one shout out to close out the episode.
One shout out goes to Virgo Face. The account is called Virgo Face, also at Chicago GRL09. Who says, at Dance of Joy Pod, hey, it would be cool if you guys started talking about how their apartment changes. He lives on the couch. He gets a room. The couch changes. Yes, we are getting there. We have not quite gotten there yet, but it is true. The apartments sort of without any mention of it or drawing attention to it, the apartment kind of gets larger. The exterior changes. Balki gets a bedroom.
The furniture changes. So at the moment, he's still sleeping on the sofa. Yes. But I did notice the sofa is now brown. Didn't it used to be like a light tan?
The sofa has changed, yes.
I think the sofa has changed colors. So he will eventually get his own
These subtle
room.
changes that never get talked about on the show.
Yeah. It's a fascinating bachelor pad layout, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, we will get to when he gets moved into the room. He's still on the sofa. But I did notice, I was like, the sofa's different. Well, let's not forget, Balki sold all his furniture to Twinkasetti, and Larry had to get most of his back. Maybe he didn't get all of it back.
Maybe they upgraded, yes.
Thanks for the shout out, Virgo Face. Thanks for listening. That's it for this week. Next week, Sophia, what's going on? What's the episode
come back
called?
And join us. Balki falls in love.
I thought he was in love with Rebecca Arthur, with Marianne. I called her Rebecca. That's her real name.
That hasn't quite happened yet. They just met them and forgot about them so far.
Balki deserves love and happiness. Listener, get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. You can find everything you need to know at our website. Visit danceofjoypod.com. It's got links to everything, all the podcast platforms you can subscribe on, how to leave us a rating and review, whatever podcast app you listen to, how to get in touch with an email at danceofjoypod@gmail.com or a voice message. Send us your best Balki impersonation. There's a little microphone button in the lower right-hand corner on our website. You just click it and talk and send, and you'll be part of the show just like that.
Cousins should joke more.
Yes, they should.
We can all be cousins.
And in fact, we've been going
more.
for a little while, and we have not yet received a voice message. So maybe we'll have a little special something for the first person to send us a voice message.
First review and first voice message get a special Meposian love. Meposian
gift
bread
box.
basket. We'll send it over. Yes, a Meposian. We should make a Meposian gift box to give out to people. What will go in there?
We will. Okay, you can also find on that website the links to all of our social media accounts. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Please like us, follow us, send us some love. And if you like what we're doing, if we made you laugh at least once, please share this podcast with a friend. It would really mean a lot to us.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dance of Joy. Until next time.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy. Die, 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 die. Hey, hey, hey.